Hi guys, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really fun, I don't even know what you call this kind of a card. It's like a double layer fancy card. How about that? I did not come up with this design. I'm fairly certain I have the person who I cased this from. They did use the CAMPER, but I used a lot of different papers for this. And they were all, let me see, made the back super fun. They were all from the Brights 6x6 DSP pack. So I have never used this much paper before, so it's kind of fun. I use this for more than just these cards for Stamp Club, but this is what I use the bulk of it for. So I only have like 4 large sheets left. I did this for something else also, but I thought the scraps would be fun because you could use both sides. I just used varying colors that I had left. I will say that I think that this latest color, yellow, which is probably Lemon Lolly, since it's in the Brights. Maybe it's Daffodil Delight. It is Daffodil Delight. Since it's a light color, it is really pretty. And also, if you don't want to do the back, you could skip this part if you wanted to have just a spot to write something. But, or you could do it for here, like leave this a little bit more blank. But I'm going to show you how to do this card. It looks complicated, but it's really not. It does attach. It's 2 pieces, so it attaches here. So I'm going to show you how to do this. But this features the Adventure Together bundle. I'm going to call it Happy Campers. That's not it. This is an online exclusive. A couple things to tell you. With the grass, this is a grass die, which cuts grass that looks like this. You have to have this at the bottom edge. So if you were cutting this, you want to make sure you don't cut it up here because it just cut it and then you have to cut it. So you could have tall grass if you wanted it, but if you just want to strip, you have to make sure you put it at the bottom of your paper. So I did use Granny Apple Green for that. But if you, now great part is if you do want a thicker piece of grass or like different layers of grass, you could cut it at different levels, but it only cuts the top and you just need to snip the little end. So this is also great for little scrap pieces that you might have if you trimmed your cardstock for something. So if you have this is garden green, that would be great because you just have a little piece. So just keep that in mind. Also, same with the tire tracks. These actually will just cut a pattern into a piece of paper. So what I did on the back here is I just kind of trimmed it out and then I added some marker to that to make it a little bit more dirt looking. So this isn't a terrifically complicated card. There are a lot of steps of stuff that you need to cut ahead of time, so I'm going to tell you how to do those, and we're going to move most of this. I do have a lot of it already done, but there is some stuff that we have to do as we go. So I'm going to show you, hopefully this is a full, let me see, full pack here. Here you go. This goes to show you what that little piece looks like. So I just trimmed around after I cut a piece. So what I'll do is just kind of trim around this to make the tire track. So it just cuts holes, which is also great if you wanted to have tire tracks cut through something. It would be kind of cool. So you could have a piece that was cut and just make 2 sets of tire tracks, or 1, depending on how great you are when you're doing your camping. So I'm going to move this up here for now so I can show you. So for this portion, I'm going to show you what this looks like, but I'm going to also show you what it looks like with the lines. So you're going to have to draw these on to trim. But to begin, so you need 2 pieces. So you can actually get this out of a full sheet of 8.5 by 11. You can get 1 card because you do have to trim it down a little bit. So this is almost, move this up just a bit so you can see, a full piece of 8.5 by 11 minus just a little strip. So you need a piece that is 9.5 by 5.5. And then the other piece, and you could use a different color if you wanted to. This is just kind of what's left. So 3 inches by 10 6/8. So this right here would make your whole 8.5 by 11 piece, but you're just not going to use all of it for both of these pieces, okay? So for the base, again, this is 5.5 by 9.5, and you're going to score it at 1/2 inch and then 2 5/8. And personally, I like to then flip it over and score it again at 1/2 inch and 2 5/8, because that way I can ensure that I have a completely even card from the get-go, okay? And then when you end up folding it, it's going to look like this. So you're going to have two little flaps. So it's kind of like a barn door or something like that card. But that way it's even. So if you score from one side and then rotate 90 degrees, anytime you do any of these where it has a meeting fold, it almost always will come out even. Versus if you just keep going across. For some reason, I always get a little piece that doesn't match. So then for the second piece, so this piece measures 3 by 10 6/8. Excuse me, 6/8. You're going to score it at 2 1/8, 4 1/4, flip it, 2 1/8, 4 1/4. That way you get 5 even parts right here, okay? And then this one is going to fold in and out. So you'll go in and out. So it's like that. Okay, so that's this portion right here. Okay, and then this part is this portion right here. And that's how it's going to go together. Okay, so the other thing you're going to have to do eventually, and this will be once we put on all of our DSP, is you kind of have to eyeball where you want this in the middle, which is where our little lines come in here. So I'll show you more about that in a moment. Okay, then the other thing you're going to need, so let me just move this so you can see what I'm doing here. Actually, I'm going to use the scored pieces. So you're going to need some panels if you're creating. Okay, so this would be going on here, and then this is going on top. So you would need 4 white panels, and these measure 2 inches by 5 3/8, and that's going to fit here. And the reason you need 4 is you're going to put 2 here. And I originally didn't put them on the front, but when you open the card, it's kind of boring looking. So you also need 2 here, okay? So 2 by 5 3/8. You have 4 of these. And then going on top of it is going to be designer series paper. And these are going to measure, where am I? Ooh, I think this is 1 7/8 by 5 2/8. So it's just very narrow border. So you're going to need 4 of those. Now this is where you can do different colors. So I did 2 for this, and then these 2 matched. So like say these are both green and these are both pink. Okay, so you can see here these are both bubbles, and they're like a probably Coastal Cabana. And then these 2 pieces here are probably Poppy Parade. So you need 2 here. And you can see when I cut these originally, I did not do them correctly. They were the same length, but I had already trimmed them, so that's why mine match. But if you wanted to have a border, you're going to do it the way I just told you with the measurements. Then you're going to also need 4 pieces and 5 white pieces. Okay, so I did these 2 matching and these 2 matching, but you could do different colors if you like. So for the layering pieces, and you're going to need 5 of these, that way you have 1 to fit. So you have 1 to do your little stamping part or a message, and then you have the other 4 for the background. And these are going to measure 2 by 2 7/8 inches. Okay, so 2 by 2 7/8. And then you're going to have, so this one will go here, but the rest of them will be down here with a piece of DSP on top of it, like so. So it's going to layer in just like that. And then these are going to be 1 7/8 by 2 3/4, and you need 4. Again, I would go for 2 matching. 2 matching, if you wanted to do all of them matching or all of them green, you could. Okay, so again, 2 by 2 7/8, 1 7/8 by 2 3/4. Okay, let me just make sure yep, that's correct. Then you also will need a piece of DSP for the back if you'd like. So you can do whichever one you want. This measures 4 by 5 1/4. And then on the back, if you want to create the scene or if you want to have something to write on, you need a piece of white that's 4 by 5 1/4. And then just various scraps. So this is pecan pie. I used white for the truck, the sentiment, and the trees. And then I just used a piece of silver foil for the door. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to begin. I'm just going to make sure I have all of my pieces here. Let's see where I am. So that, and make sure I have all of these. You're not going to attach the white one in the center until you stamp it. So So let's make sure, because I was fooling with so many of these cards. A couple of them are, and I have 2 of them that are already done. So I'm going to use these 2 as the replacements for this. And then we'll use this one here. And then we'll use these 2, which ones do we like better? Yeah, 2 stripey pieces. Then I have my tall, that'll be for the inside. And I just need 2 other pieces. Let's do that. And what else do we have here? We'll go with orange. Orange. And you know what? Instead of doing blue and red, yeah, we'll go with this. We'll go with that. No, I'm going to go with the blue. I like the blue better. Okay. So we have all of our pieces. Let me move the rest of this over. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all we have to do now really is some stamping, a lot of gluing, and I'm going to do one other thing. I'm going to just take my, I have a little white piece here that I'm going to stamp my trees. I have trees, and I'm going to go with this piece here. Trees and the camper, and then I need a sentiment. So I'm going to do those, that way they have a minute to dry, and then we'll start gluing everything. So you do want to stamp this. I colored these with watercolor pencils on this. So this is watercolor pencils, and I just used a blender pen. On the back, I did use some ink, and I used some Stampin' Blends. So I'm going to just use Memento. That way I can do everything in the same thing, and I won't worry about having any problems. So let me grab the truck or camper, whatever we want to call this. I'm going to grab my trees. And it's a little too small. And my sentiment. And I also need the little fire pit and the chair. All right, so we have all of that stuff. These are going to be for the back, so I'm not going to worry about those just yet. And I am going to need these 2 and these 2. Move those over. All right, to start, let me move a couple of these things up and out of the way. So we are in a very extremely cold snap, I guess, what you want to call it right now, in Maryland. It is, we actually don't have school today. And we had some snow over the weekend, but it wasn't as much as they originally called for, which is disappointing because I do like snow. But, so I'm just going to stamp these all in black. Good. And I did trim off the steps for the camper. That's kind of optional. You can do it either way. And let's see if I can fit the trees. And I'm going to do the trees. The trees I kind of fooled around with. You could use old olive. You could use spruce. It really just depends. You could use granny apple green. These are going to be, I feel like this needs to be inked a little bit. You know what? I'm going to go to a different color just because I don't want you to have to suffer through that. That's olive. I'll go to garden. I know garden is inky. We did have a snowstorm this weekend, but it wasn't as much as they originally thought it was going to be. So it's not really very snowy, but I guess since we have a snow day left, one more snow day left, we're not in school today. So while that is still slightly wet, I'm just going to take a green brush just so I don't get super harsh edges when I die cut this. It'll have just a little bit of color to it, which is fine. And I'm also going to, while I have this out, that's the wrong one, I'm going to do my trees for the tree line. So they're just going to be a different color. So I'm going to start with the larger tree. And what I did is I just stamped off, moved over a little bit. Ooh, I guess with the temperatures, everything needs to be inked again. It's so dry. here. It definitely is very dry, that's for sure. All of our snow is, we did have a little bit of rain on Saturday. It's very powdery. Okay, and then I'm going to just do the same thing just with this. I'm just going to go along the edge here. We're going to add our grass, so you don't really need to do too much. And then I do have a blue blending brush that probably still has a little bit of ink on it, so I'm going to just bring this down in the center for the sky. I did balmy blue with that, so I don't know if you can see, but there's just a little bit of sky. It doesn't need to be a whole lot, just to add so it's not just white. You'll probably be able to see it more in the pictures when I'm finished with that. We're going to move these over for now. So these are going to get die cut. The tree is going to get die cut. Trees. I'm going to die cut. I have a little piece of silver foil for the door, so I will do that. And I'm just going to let this sit for just a minute while I work on this. Now, I'm not finished with the inks quite yet because we do have to do stuff in the back, but we're going to wait and we're going to do a little adhesion first. Oop, and you know what? I didn't do my sentiment. I'm going to put my sentiment right on the top of this. This is going to be die cut with the, oh, I can't remember what these darn stamp sets are called. Our die sets are called. We've changed things. Nested Essentials, maybe it is. I could be wrong. Who knows? So we'll cut that shortly. All right. So in the meantime, we're just going to do a little bit of gluing. So we've definitely are rapidly running through our snow days. Since this is already glued, I'm just going to do the rest of them, and then I'll put everything on at the same time. So we're just going to do a little bit of gluing. This is our back panel. This one will go, and then we need these two. So we'll do all of our gluing first, and then I will adhere them. I would suggest using liquid glue, personally, only because in case you have to adjust something, you can. And I might switch to the back side of one of these. I think I'm going to use this side, just so it's not all the same pattern. So I'm going to use a liquid glue for this. Aside from that, it is really, and we do have kids that have to ride the bus, so I'm pretty sure that's probably why school is closed today. But also, I don't know. I'm sure people in Minnesota still go to school. I guess we're just, look at that. I said I was going to glue it and I did the wrong side. I'll switch it for the orange. We're just not used to this cold up here, I'm assuming. Not up here in the mid-Atlantic like the people are in the Midwest, because I'm sure people in Chicago and Minnesota and everywhere else in the Midwest probably go to school in the snow, because you have snow all winter, unlike us here. Would love to have snow all winter, but we just don't seem to get snow like we used to, sadly. I remember growing up a couple different times, and we would have like feet, multiple feet of snow. That doesn't happen anymore. Wish it would. But we are going to Western Maryland, so we're going to Oakland, Deep Creek area. Some people are more familiar with Deep Creek instead of Oakland. When I say Oakland, everyone thinks I mean California, but we have Oakland in Maryland. It's a small town very close to the skiing and Deep Creek Lake. There's those four. And we're going up shortly to, let me go with this side, snowboard, hopefully. They have a lot of snow, which is awesome for them. Wish we had their snow. It's just feet and feet of snow right now. Which makes me wonder, do you like snow? Are you a fan of snow? Do you like looking at it but not shoveling it? I definitely don't enjoy shoveling it. I never have enjoyed shoveling it. I do like it. But the shoveling it, not so much. Okay, while I have this out, I'm going to just adhere to the bottom my piece of grass, because we are going to have to trim this. So I'm just going to put this on, Probably don't need quite that much. Right at the bottom. Sorry, I'm out of view. And just give that a minute to set, and then we will trim the edges of that off. So we're going snowboarding. I'm a little nervous because I've been having this issue with my, I think it's my SI joint. And hopefully I'll be okay. I'll be able to stand. It's weird because it bothers me very randomly. Could be doing nothing. Could be doing something. So I started going to the chiropractor again to see if I can get adjusted. I really feel like if I could just get my back cracked, I'd probably be fine. I used to be able to do that on my own, but I guess I'm too older and stiffer now that I'm 49. 1 year closer to the big 50, half a century. Yay me, it's exciting. Okay, so there's our 4 panels. So the only other thing we're going to do is I'm going to just trim this. Okay, and then we're going to glue this on. And Jack in the background here, in case you hear him groaning, just celebrated his 4th birthday. He's the big 4. 4 years old. See, now I kind of wish I wouldn't have gone with this. I'm going to see if there's another piece in here, because orange and orange and orange, yeah. I'm going to use this piece of pink instead, because we might have just too much orange going on, and I'm going to use this piece. This is going to be for our background of the main card. And I like the fact of this card being colorful, especially since it's so cold. I think I trimmed this one just slightly off. Yep. Oh well, 'tis what it is. Okay, then we're going to put our DSP. So I'm going to go with this panel, just so we don't have the same pattern. That was I think one of the best parts about it, is just being able to mix up the patterns for this, because it just makes it more visually interesting. It's very bright, it's very cheery, it's kind of crazy. Okay, and then we have 2 more to put on. Now I'm going to flip this just because I don't want to fold it in just yet, but these are going to just get glued onto the front portion. And this is definitely a card that is going to definitely require extra postage. So this could be one that maybe you give to somebody as a hand-delivered card with a gift, or someone local, or you just splurge for that little bit of extra postage. It's not often that people get fun stuff in the mail, so I guess why not, right? Okay, so there's our base. And the only other thing we still need is the back piece, but we're going to work on that in a little bit. And then here's what you're going to do for this. So here's how you figure this out. So you have your piece, super busy, but it's cute. It's fine. They're going to love it. And what you're going to do is you're going to press your card flat and just kind of eyeball. Do you think it looks straight? And I'm going to go with what I have, because I don't want to lean over the camera and adjust it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just take your pencil and you're going to make a mark, a mark, a mark, a mark. And then you're going to say, okay, this looks pretty good. So again, I did, and I didn't do that for this, but you do want to make sure that you crease your panels really well with your bone folder, because this is a very heavy card. It has a lot of paper. If you were trying to save on some paper, you could completely eliminate the white layer underneath, because it won't be as bulky then, but I do think it's a really cute card. And I'm going to do the same with this. I'm just going to fold these. Fold, and I did do the whole thing again once it was completely adhered, not with the bone folder, but just really pressing. So now we have our little panels here. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your snips and you're just going to make a little miter cut here and here. So those are the lines we drew, and we're just cutting that off. Same here. just a little bit. And here, because this little part here is really just holding it in place. So just like that. Then what I would recommend is a double duty of adhesion. Oh, just dropped something in my coffee cup. Yay. Little piece of paper. So I'm going to use a little bit of tear and tape right here. And then I'm also going to put a little bit of liquid glue just as a backup. And also the reason I'm using the liquid glue more than anything is that way I can adjust it if I were to need to. So really make sure you press that down. And then the other thing is, if you're going to put your panel on and it's already on there, make sure it's facing the correct direction. So we're going to adhere this when it is mostly flat. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this off. Take this off. We're going to put some glue here, not a lot, just a little bit. And then we're going to put some glue on our center panel. So put enough that you can adjust it, but not so that it's swimming. Okay, so we're going to set this down in the middle where we think we want it. Kind of just try to make sure it's centered-esque. Make sure you're centered on your panels here. And I can just see that I was inside, which is where I went with that. So then we're going to just press. So using your bone folder really gives you a good adhesion. Same thing on this one. And you want to give this a minute before you do anything with it. So I would hold your flaps and you're going to just have to kind of push it in to make sure it closes and then just let that glue dry. Okay. So in the meantime, I'm going to just die cut all my stuff here. I'm going to just layer this here while we're here so you have something to look at while we're doing this. And the cool part is this does completely cut out the food truck. Geez, you know, we did have a food truck that was extremely similar to this. I guess that's why I said food truck. So you want to line this up. I'm going to use the Stylish Shapes. Okay, we do still have those. See, you just never know. The Let the Adventure Begin is kind of a tight fit, so I'm going to just put a little piece of purple tape on that just to make sure it's mostly centered. And then I have my two trees. Hopefully I can cut these at the same time because I did kind of stamp them a little bit close. That looks good. They're a little close. I'm not gonna make you watch me twice, so they're gonna just have to be a little close. I'm gonna grab a little piece of Post-it. Oh, sorry about the camera. Apologies for that. Post-it note tape on there. And I had a little tiny piece of foil around here somewhere for the silver foil. Let's see if I can locate it. Yep, ran away. Hang on one sec. Here it is. So I'm going to just cut just a little piece here for the door. And I did put adhesive on the back of this, so I won't have to cut it. So I'm going to put all these over here. I'm going to run this whole thing through the die cut machine, and then we will color. While we wait for that card to finish drying. And if you want to, if you notice that your tree, so this tree is a little bit light, so I might actually go back and add just a little teeny bit more color to it. But won't be a lot. There's your door. And while I have it, I'm going to just add just a little bit more to these. And I'm going to grab a little bit of the garden. Not a lot. I'm just a teeny bit. Because these are going behind the camper, so you don't want them to be really super stark white. All right, and in the meantime, we have this. And I did say I cut these off. So what I ended up doing was, because I was trying to cut the steps, I actually ended up kind of just trimming the whole thing just a little bit. So this is optional. You don't have to do this. But I didn't want the steps on there. Guess it depends on what setting you're doing on whether or not you want them on there. That was good enough for me. And then I'm going to bring out my watercolor pencils. So the colors I used for this were Flirty Flamingo and Granny Apple Green. There are 2 different packages of watercolor pencils that we have, and some of these colors, like Pacific Point for example, is retired, but it still is included in there. I don't know if it's just labeled as blue or if it is Pacific Point, but it's in there. I also have Pacific Point, Balmy Blue, Basic Gray, and all I really did was, and there's probably a purple in there too, I kind of just colored it how I thought. So we probably will need some green, so I'll just do Granny Apple Green for the grass, whatever this is in the window. Maybe it's a plant, I don't know. And then I'm going to just do every other for the awning. Or you could just do it green and white, pink and white, solid color, gray, really your choice. Just do pink for this. And we won't color the top because I know some of the campers do have white tops. So we'll go with just a plain white top. I am going to color in the windows. For the windows, I tried to go, and I'm thinking Balmy. Balmy was probably the lightest. No, Balmy wasn't as light as I thought it was. It's lighter than this one, though. So Balmy I did for the windows, and then I just kind of went over them with a little bit of Wink of Stella pen just to give it a little bit of shimmer for a window. Same for this. Shimmer for window. The door we're going to completely cover up except for the window, so you can do the window. The tires, there it is. For the tires, I did Basic Gray because the black is just a little dark. You could leave the hubcaps white. Jeez, I sound like my nieces were little wipe. I'm just going to do them blue. And I forgot, I have to grab one other color just for the body of this. Whatever I'm going to grab, looks like it is Coastal Cabana. Okay, well that was kind of the one I wanted. So we're going to just Coastal Cabana this. And I'm not really being super particular because we are going to use the blender pens, which will spread out the watercolor. So that's the cool part about them, is you don't have to be 100% particular. And then for the window box, I'm going to make it really dark because it will just look like 2 different shades. So that's it in a nutshell. Again, the watercolor pencils, they do come in a box. There's 2 different boxes, so that's what you can do. And now I'm going to grab my blender pen. So the most important part of your blender pen is you want to make sure you clean your brush off in between. So we'll just do the lighter colors first. This looks like it still has just a little bit. I should have cleaned it just a teeny bit better. Let me go to the other end. But these they have a glycerin in them, I believe. It's a glycerin mixture, so they just kind of activate it. You could use a water brush if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Do the green. Do the blue. And go to the blue. I'll go to the lighter blue for the windows. And the other thing is you can actually use your Wink of Stella too with this if you wanted to, which is kind of neat. And then just go in with your, this is the Coastal Cabana. And you can see, so I went from lines and it was just kind of scribbled in, and it does really, it's kind of cool because it almost melts the color. It's really neat. You don't really have to be very good at it. And then the darker. There we go. I think we did the inside. Oh, forgot to do the tires. The other thing with watercolor pencils, you can also dip them into a cup of water. And since this is just white up here, I'm going to add, did I put it away already? Well, this is all I have. I'm just going to add a little bit of shading with some early espresso right at the edge. Like that. You can also dip them in water when you use them. It's kind of cool. There you go. So it gives just a little bit of shading, really is all I wanted. And, oops, wrong spot. And then I'm going to just grab my sparkle pen and just add a little shimmer to the windows. Like that. Okay. And then we are going to, what did I do with my door? Here it is. So the window pops out for the door, or you could leave it in if you wanted to. And I'm just going to peel the back off and stick this right there, like that. So there's your camper. And then what I did is I kind of just lined the trees up behind. So it does look like it's two tall trees. Excuse me. It's not. I put them both together like this. So I'm going to just put a little bit of glue. Like so. Kind of stick them together. And then I put them behind this here. Just like that. Like that. And then this is going to go up top. So I'm going to show you how to put these on. And then if you don't have any interest in doing the back, you could stop watching here. I did not add any dimensionals to this because, as I said, it was already really bulky enough as it was. So we'll go with that and that. We'll put some glue up here. I don't want to get too much glue on my circle and then over glue in the wrong spot. And this kind of is mostly centered. And this I definitely put a good amount of glue on because there were different layers. So I wanted to make sure it was where I put it. And then you can just put a block or something on this. Now, another thing you could do if you had an extra piece of grass, depending, now I know I cut the thing off, so I cut off the steps. But you could also put a piece of grass underneath of this if you left the steps like you were parked there for a while. So that's another idea. But that is essentially the card. I am going to do the back panel. So if you don't want to see the back panel, you can call it a day here. I will list all of the links to the blog and all of the products used in the description below this. Thank you very much for watching. If you don't want to watch the second part of it with the back panel, but if you do want to, hey, love to have you around. But here's your escape if you want to go. I will have all the measurements for this linked in the blog as well for all the DSP. But now we're going to move on to the back. So for the back, I did very similarly. I just changed to shaded spruce. So I'm going to just do the back panel first. And I'm going to just stamp some trees here. Yeah, I definitely need to re-ink some of these. And then we'll grab our smaller tree. I don't think I can do a whole lot of Stampin' Off because these trees, the ink is so light. That's good. Okay. Then I'm going to go back in again. I need to flip this over so I can remember that I need to fix this. Go like that, and I'm going to go like that. That's what I usually do. Do you guys do any tricks like that when you need to re-ink something? What I usually do is I will put my ink pad in upside down in my Stampin' storage container. That way I kind of remember that I need to add some ink to it. So I'm just kind of adding a little bit of green where I imagine the grass would be, and also to kind of fill in just a little bit of the white in the tree background. Let's see, I'm gonna turn this just a little bit. I do usually make sure I leave them flat once I put the ink in so it goes all the way down, but I do use my spoon trick still, so that's another idea. So because this will need to be inked, I'm going to just flip it over in here to remind myself I need to ink the greens desperately. Before I go any farther, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my other elements so I know where I have or where I want them before I add the sky. So I'm going to add in my chair. Go with that, and you want to make sure you put your fire pit somewhere where it's not going to look like you're going to set your trees on fire. That's pretty good. And I don't think, nope, nothing else on there. And then before I do my coloring, I'm going to add in my blue. So again, I did use Balmy Blue, but before I ink it, I'm just going to see what I have left. So I'm going to just start from the top and just add kind of a little bit of color, and it's pretty light still, so just ink this. But before I go directly to the card, since I just went in there, I'm going to just come off just a little bit. You really just want a color-ish of the sky, if that makes sense. Doesn't really have to be anything specific because it kind of almost looks a little bit cloudy, which is cool. And I probably should have gone with something to go like across for the grass, but I felt like my grass was up here enough that I didn't really need it. Now, one other thing, because of where I place these, I don't know if I'm going to have room for the tire track. So if I don't, that's fine. I'm not really too concerned with it. But I'm going to give you one other tip. So I am using for these, and I will show you, if you do still want to do the tire, here's what I did. I cut this little piece out, and then I took my espresso Stampin' Right marker, and I kind of just went back and forth in some spots. I wasn't really super specific with it, and I just kind of made it so it looked kind of like it had depth to it with potentially mud. Just make sure you use the side, not the tip, so you don't break it. And then I just went in with my snips and I kind of trimmed along. Make sure you don't cut through anything, or try not to anyway. And that's how I got my little tire track that I used. So if we add that, that's what it's going to look like. And then the other tip I have is, this might seem like a no-brainer, but to me it wasn't until I realized that I've now done this a couple times. When you open your blends, and this may or may not happen to you, I guess it depends on where you live and the humidity, but sometimes when I open mine, I'll get like a spray of alcohol and it'll just be a drip. And that's what that drip is. I don't know if you can see that there, but you can't get rid of it, no matter how you blend it away. So I would tell you, if you're trying to preserve your card, don't open anything on top of it. Open your blend to the side or move your project to the side or something. That was Light Mango Melody. Sorry if you don't have that one. You could probably use Dark Daffodil Delight. And this is a little bit of Poppy Parade Light. And I really wish they'd bring back Mango Melody. That was one of my favorite yellows. I'm going to just go back over it with it. I'm surprised this marker is still usable, being honest with you, but I try to be really gentle with it. And then I have light and dark gray granite. I'm going to do the dark first, just because I tend to do dark first. Usually works for me. So I'm just kind of going around the edge, the sides, and the ring, just like so. Then I'm going to come in with my light and just go in the middle, and then I'm going to go back just a teeny bit with the brush tip of that. It's feel like it's sometimes just a little bit more potent on the brush end. There you go. Then I'm going to go in with my light Old Olive. And I'm going to just go underneath of here to kind of just add a little something that this fire pit is sitting on. I know it wouldn't be sitting on grass because usually the grass dies around it, but just for a little something. Same thing with this. I'm kind of just giving this a little something that it's sitting in, the chair. And I'm also going to go up to the trees just a little bit. You can do this with something different if you wanted to use your Stampin' Right marker. If you wanted to use a blending brush with a little bit more ink, you probably could also diffuse this a little bit better. But I don't know. I didn't. So I just kind of just went around the ones that did have it. Again, with the ink that's already on there, it's not really going to work because it is alcohol. So if you really wanted to blend it a little bit more, I just went back in my old olive for just a little second there. And where is it? Yeah, somewhere here. And I'm going to just go just right at the bottom of the trees just to kind of soften that just a little bit. But you know, just depending on what you think is necessary. Then I also have my dark old olive, and this is what I did for the chair. So I just kind of picked a side and made it the darker side. Obviously where the seat meets, it's going to be a little bit darker. And you do want to make sure that you do this on something because you can see it does bleed through. So I don't know, maybe I followed the wrong side when I was doing this because I'm really not following the edges of it, but it is what it is. I'm not really great at finding the sun spot as of yet. I guess where the sun would be or the shadow. But if you're camping and the sun's going down, I don't know. You got to pick where it is. Maybe you'll do a better job than I did. So I'm just bringing in some light. And then I'm going to go back once more with the dark, but this time I'm going to use the brush tip. So again, just be careful opening your blends over top of your project so you don't end up with a huge spot on it. And it doesn't happen all the time. That's the crazy part. It's very random for me anyway. I don't know. And I am going to, just because I still have my blue out, and obviously it's not going to affect the alcohol marker, I'm going to just blue a little bit more around that. So just a little bit of definition. And then what you could do, let's try this. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but I'm going to try it anyway. I'm going to go in. I have a little bit of garden green. And I'm just tapping this into my blending brush. I'm going to try just tapping it like where the edge of this would be. See what that looks like. That's kind of neat. Gave it like a little bit of a mound of... That actually looks good. Kind of like that better. Let's see if I can do it on this one, if it will still work. Must not be quite enough ink there. So it gives you that that illusion of a horizon. So there it is. Let's see what this even looks like. If we're going to add this, it might not. It's not going to fit all the way. But we can do part of it. We'll glue part of it down and just cut the rest of it off. So I'm just using my Barely Art Very Fine Tip glue, which I really, really love. It's really good and sticky. It's great, especially too with this little super fine piece. I'll glue that in, and then I'll just trim this little piece off. Just like that. And then I'm going to add this to the back. So, if you like this video, if you learned something, please give me a thumbs up. You can share this with a friend that loves crafting as well. Let me make sure this is trimmed. Yeah, good. That would be great if it was too big, right? After all that. So that's why I want to make sure it was okay first. And my little glue bottle, because I left it open. Stopper stopped. Hold on pause for 1 second for station identification. So if you like this video, I would love for you to like, subscribe, follow, share, leave a comment. If you want to get any of the supplies that I used in this video today, please click on the links below in the description of this YouTube video. But if you're just not in the money frame of mind to spend money, like, share, leave a comment, follow. If you haven't already, turn on the notifications. I hope you find some useful content here. Hope you've enjoyed this fun card today. And then I'll just show you one more time. What I do is I just fold it and just really give it like a good press. But you can see it's definitely got some, it's got some girth to it. So it's going to be a little bit of extra postage, but super cute card. Again, if you want to leave the back blank, you could put a little note there. You could even take out some of these panels if you wanted to write something on the inside instead, but it's really, really cute because it does stand up on itself. Super, super, super fun card. So I'm going to show you the back of that one and the front of this one. If you enjoyed this video today, I would love for you to let me know in the comments below. I don't get a lot of comments, so I do answer each and every one of them. If you have someone that you think would enjoy this video, please share it with them. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay warm.